All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. You've been gradually increasing the number of tasks a client must complete to earn a reinforcer. Initially, the client earned a break after every 2 tasks in FR2, and you've now increased it to 10 tasks, FR10. Suddenly, the client begins engaging in escape behaviors, refusing to work, showing signs of frustration that weren't present before. What is most likely occurring? When we're answering questions on your exam, you want to choose the best answer. In this case, we have a situation where you are increasing the reinforcement schedule. So in this case, the number of tasks to earn the reinforcement. We're going from an FR2 all the way to an FR10. Now, what's the major difference? It's an 8 task increase in order to earn reinforcement. And depending on the task, that could be quite a bit. So what is the term that describes what sometimes happens if we change our reinforcement schedule too quickly? Because if this client was cooperating before and being compliant before, and now they're escaping and refusing to work and showing signs of frustration, what's likely occurring given what we know about the reinforcement schedule? A, the client has become satiated with the reinforcer. The client has, in this case, received less of the reinforcement because it's harder to earn that reinforcement. So satiation is actually much less likely to occur the harder it is to earn that reinforcer. B, ratio strain, however, is likely occurring given the sudden increase from an FR2 to an FR10. The response requirement has increased dramatically, which can lead to behaviors and avoidance that weren't there before. That ratio strain has occurred. C, the behavior has been successfully shaped and is ready for natural contingencies. It doesn't appear that's the case, given the fact they're having behaviors now that it's harder to earn the reinforcement. D, an extinction burst is occurring as expected. Nowhere in the question have we discussed extinction or talked about extinction. Extinction is not likely occurring, and we're not intentionally doing extinction. However, it is possible that we're inadvertently putting this behavior on extinction by increasing the requirement. And when that happens, what happens likely is ratio strain. So what is most likely occurring is B, ratio strain. During a session, your client repeatedly attempts to hit their head with their hand. Each time the client raises their hand toward their head, you gently intercept and redirect the hand away, preventing contact. The behavior intervention plan specifically instructs you to use this procedure. What intervention are you implementing? So we have another straightforward intervention question. So not too difficult of a question. We have a client who is trying to hit their head. When they raise their hand toward their head, you intercept and redirect the hand away, preventing contact. And you're told to do this. Now, when we have a response occurring and we immediately stop it before it can happen, what are we doing? A, response cost. With the response cost, we are actually removing reinforcement based on behavior. Here, we're not removing reinforcement, we're preventing the behavior from happening completely. B, overcorrection. Overcorrection is an ABA term, not one as an RBT you need to necessarily know. It's a BCBA term, however. This is not overcorrection. C, response blocking. This is response blocking. Response blocking occurs when we have this response happening, and before the response can complete, we've done what? We've stopped it in its tracks. Okay, and that is response blocking. Response blocking can sometimes be extinction, but it's not always extinction. They're two separate things. So be careful about getting those mixed up. With response blocking, we're literally stopping the behavior from happening altogether. In this case, we're intercepting and redirecting the hand away, preventing any contact. In the timeout, we are removing the person from the scenario or removing the reinforcement temporarily. Again, what we're doing is we are blocking that response before it can occur fully. Therefore, this is C, response blocking. Your client is learning to raise their hand in class to get the teacher's attention. Sometimes the teacher responds immediately, sometimes after the third hand raise, and sometimes after just one hand raise. The client continues to raise their hand consistently despite this unpredictable reinforcement. What schedule of reinforcement is maintaining the hand-raising behavior? Let's quickly review our simple schedules, right? We have fixed versus variable. What does fixed mean? It means it's not changing, right? So if my fixed schedule is 2, then it's going to be 2 the whole time. Variable, we're going on some sort of average, right? So we probably have an average of 2, which means it could be 2, 4, 3, 5, etc. That is variable, it's changing. Ratio is based on responses, where interval is based on time. So let's put that together, right? Client raising hand to get teacher's attention. Sometimes teacher responds immediately, sometimes after the third hand raise. So let's start with, is this based on the number of responses or time? Well, it's the number of responses, right? Or behavior, how many times does it take to raise their hand? So it's going to be a ratio schedule. And then the teacher is not always responding immediately. So they're not always responding after the first time. Sometimes, right, after the third, sometimes after the first. So is that fixed or variable? Well, it's going to be variable. We put those two together, question becomes quite easy. This is maintained by a variable ratio schedule. You're teaching a client to wash their hands using a task analysis with 6 steps. Turn on water, wet hands, apply soap, scrub hands, rinse hands, dry hands. Using forward chaining, you teach step 1 first until the client masters it independently. Then you teach steps 1 and 2 together, so on. What is the primary advantage of using forward chaining for this skill? Remember, we have forward chaining, we have backwards chaining, we have total task chaining, and each type of chaining has their benefits, right? We're not saying one is inherently better than all the other ones. We're just saying each has their benefits and their uses based on the needs. So if you're teaching using forward chaining to teach hand washing, what's an advantage of using it to teach the skill? A, the client experiences the natural end of the task chain immediately as reinforcement. With what type of chaining will the client experience the end of the task chain immediately? That's going to be with backwards chaining. Same with B, the client can complete the final step independently from the beginning, experiencing success at the end. Well, with forward chaining, we've only done 1 and 2 independently. We still have plenty more to go before they get to that final step. So backwards chaining is based on doing the last step independently, based on escape. Not what we're doing here. C, forward chaining is faster than backward chaining for all skills. Again, one is not necessarily better than the other. It's all client dependent. That leaves us with D. The client learns each step in the natural sequence and builds the chain from the beginning forward. That is one advantage, or a huge advantage, of forward chaining. We teach naturally, right? Steps in order. And we are building the chain from the beginning forward. So they're doing that first step independently, first and second, so on and so forth. Answer here is D. Client learns each step in the natural sequence and builds the chain from the beginning forward. You're working with the client in a classroom setting. The client reaches for a puzzle on a shelf but cannot quite reach it. Instead of immediately helping, you wait near the puzzle and create an opportunity for the client to communicate their need. When the client gestures or uses words to request help, you provide the puzzle in natural praise. What teaching strategy are you using? All right, we have a teaching strategy question. We know we're in a classroom setting. The client reaches for a puzzle but can't quite reach it. So what do? We don't help immediately. We wait and have the client communicate their needs first. So when we are giving the opportunity in a natural environment for the client to engage in a behavior that we want to see, what are we doing? We are using that incident to teach. So if we look at A, incidental teaching is exactly what we're talking about. This is also known as natural environment teaching, naturalistic teaching. Discrete trial teaching, right, is much more contrived. We're going to have our SD, we may have a prompt, we're going to have a behavior and a consequence. Then we'll pause and restart it again, over and over. Very contrived. Errorless learning, we prevent all errors from happening. Here, there's a chance the client doesn't communicate their needs. They can engage in behaviors. A lot of different things can happen. With errorless learning, we're preventing all those errors from happening. Here, we're using natural situations to teach. We're using the incident So what we're using here is A, incidental teaching. Thanks for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.